Hello, welcome to Candy Shoppe Yarns, where everything is sugar-free and high in fiber. I am Deborah, the owner of Candy Shoppe Yarns, and this is the ultimate destination for knitting and crochet enthusiasts. It is January 4th, 2024, a new year. It's very exciting, and this is episode 24. I have so much to share with you today. I have life news, I have a winner from last episode's giveaway, some gifts to share with you. Let's see, I have answers for questions in last week's episode, finished objects, works in progress, shop news, make 9 plans, lots of fun things. So we better get started. Okay, what's been going on? Well, all of December, I recorded Vlogmas videos, which I posted on my Patreon channel. So I have a new Patreon account, new as in a month ago. And I posted all of my Vlogmas videos there, but I think there were 2, maybe 3 I posted on this channel. And so I was just busy doing that, and it was a lot of fun. The new year, we rang in with some friends where I did a Chinese hot pot dinner. It was really fun. We did this for one of our school classes earlier in the year, and I thought it was so much fun, and I got all of the equipment and supplies for it, and I thought we should use this more, and it's really meant for a gathering. So we had another family join us and discovered that 9 people was too many for one hot pot, even though it had 3 sections and it was a large one, because we needed 2 on the table for us to be able to reach. So that was a bit difficult, but it was really fun. We had so many delicious things to eat. Just had lots of great conversation. I loved that. But what I really think is the big news is December 26th, the day after Christmas, we decided to tear out our entire bathroom upstairs. Now, this wasn't like a surprise. We were planning it. We have been preparing for it for a little while, getting all of the supplies, the fixtures. We got a new vanity, new mirrors, all of the things. So my husband took the week off between Christmas and New Year's, and my son-in-law also had that off, and he came and helped, and thank goodness, because it is a project. The demolition alone took 4 days. My husband was hoping it would take 1, but it took 4 days, because it's not just, oh, we're taking out cabinets and putting in new ones and putting in a new toilet and some new flooring. I mean, we ripped out all the drywall. Well, actually, we live in an old home built in the 50s, and so there was lath and plaster over cinder block. And so ended up going and getting a tool to remove that, because just trying to do that without it was just so physically exhausting. Removed the ceiling, the drywall up to the rafters, removed the subfloor, all electrical, all plumbing, and are starting from scratch. So I was joking that the vibe we're going for is medieval dungeon. We're just missing the fire-breathing dragon because that's what it looks like right now. So we live in a little home, but we did put in a 3/4 bath downstairs in our basement. And so we have that, thankfully. But it still has taken over the entire house. So that's been our life now since December 26th. And it's nice to have a little break. My husband said, oh, it'll be so nice to have a vacation going back to work. Like, yes, and I will have one as well, because the house will be quiet. So Luna, I thought, oh, she is gonna really, really have a hard time with this, because she's so anxious about everything. But halfway into the first day, she kind of just mellowed out, and now she's been fine with all the noises, so that's good. She might come and sit on my feet, but you know, she doesn't seem to be too anxious. So that's great. So let's move on to, wait, where, no, no, not yet. I wanted to show you. I have some fun Christmas things. Okay, so our Christmas gifts primarily have been everything for the bathroom. So my husband and I did really very, very little for each other. We just did stockings, which I'm perfectly fine with, especially because I did several Advent swaps with friends, so I felt really spoiled. But one thing my husband did give me that I was so excited about, oh, it's the world's best scissors. They are so beautiful. I saw this box and I just went, how do you know about these? Didn't tell me how he knew about these. I'm like, how do you know that these are the best scissors for sewing? I mean, you can get scissors for everything there, but they're just lovely. So lovely. Oh, gotta let Luna in. Oh, I didn't put this away. That's okay, I'll do that in a minute. And then my sister Emily, she and I, well, I love gifts that make me laugh and make other people laugh. So for Emily's birthday, I gave her some silly animal, cat-related things. We have this kind of ongoing cat joke. I always joke that I am a digital cat hoarder, meaning digital, they're only online. I don't have any physical cats. Anyways, so she gave me this. It is so funny. Yes, I'm not a cat hoarder due to my experiences growing up with some cats that were a bit too much for me, but I'm just thinking, what is this? Yeah, anyways, that was hilarious. And then she gave me this that's not hilarious. It is the best thing ever. This sweatshirt with strawberry shortcake. It's very oversized, so it's nice and cozy. She said, I thought you could wear it while you're dyeing yarn. And I said, there is no way I'm doing that. This has to stay pristine. So I can only wear it on special occasions. Now I can wear it all the time, but I don't want it to get dye on it for sure. What am I looking for? There was something else I was looking for. And then Sweet Jewels from So Sweet Violet sent just the cutest little set of coasters. I've seen these in her shop and they're just so dainty. I love the little gold rickrack edging. Just really adorable with this sweet card, Brambly Hedge. Love that. And then a friend that we did the Chinese hot pot with, she gave me this for myself and my girls to do together. Have any of you seen these kits, these miniature rooms? This one is the Miller's Garden. We opened it up on Christmas Day and got it out to start and thought this is going to be quite the project, and I don't think I'm ready to settle in on Christmas Day to work on this. So this will be one over a weekend that we'd have to do together, but my girls were so excited about that. Put that away. And then one more, I shared this on my Vlogmas, but it is too cute to not share. Because you will want to see this. In this little bag, I received this gift in my knitting group, in my local knit night. We have a Christmas exchange every year. And we often do handmade gifts, not always, but often do. And they're usually something small, not a really big thing. Well, my friend Courtney, she made, I'm trying to untangle things because I apparently just threw things in this bag. She made a mini weaving loom. Here's the heddle. And there is a tiny, tiny shuttle. It's so cute, and she even made a little instruction booklet. So where is the front? That's the back. So I gave it a shot, and I made a little tiny piece of fabric. Just playing around with it. Her instructions say you can use this with or without the heddle. I think that this made it easier to weave in the long run, but it was really hard to thread it, the yarns through those teeny tiny holes. I got out my smallest metal crochet hook that I have. It'll fit through the hole, but then it was hard to grab the yarn and pull it through. She used a little piece of wire. I actually thought, but I didn't have any more, the little dental floss threaders, that would be really good for this, but I was out of those. So I might get some for that, and that will make it easier. I can see where I started out, wait, no, I started here looser and towards the top got tighter. This can be a little rug for a little mouse house that I made for my grandchildren. Or it's just a scrap that I made, but I had this brilliant idea that I was going to weave a whole bunch of little ones and sew them together. This took me probably an hour and a half to do, so I don't know that I will invest that much time. I'm sure it'd get faster the more I do it, but it's really just the novelty of it. It's just so fun, so much fun. Loved that. My girls thought it looked adorable too, because we all love miniatures. Anything that's cute and tiny, it's gotta be better. Okay, so that was all the gifts that I wanted to share with you today. So let's share the winner from last episode's giveaway. I have this I-cord making tool that has 3 latch hooks that you can use to make I-cord with. This is a 3D printed one from the Size Inclusive Collective on Etsy. I purchased one for myself and one for my sister, and she purchased one for herself and one for me. So we each had the same idea, and we decided, well, we can use those for a giveaway. So that's perfect. So the winner for that is that's going on the screen here because I can't read that. That's who's won, yay! So I had that. The other one I saw at the same time was the Triple Stitch I-cord tool from the Cranky Spinster, but I couldn't get a hold of one until just barely. And now I have one of hers. It is a wood hand-turned handle and 3 hooks, and they are kind of on an angle here. So as you hold the yarn and work it, it's a little bit more ergonomic. The hooks are a little bit smaller on this one, so this would be for fingering weight yarn. This one could be for fingering maybe up to DK. The one from the Size Inclusive Collective, but the Cranky Spinster one is really just for fingering weight. So I ended up getting one of those, which is really fun. And I don't know that one is easier than the other. I think they're both relatively the same. I was joking that I mean, I needed this years ago because I was hand knitting I-cord and I had to knit something like 4 or 5 feet to tie into these Celtic knot bracelets for an event that I was doing. And I thought I did 100, but I think I only did 60. But I did that all the good old-fashioned way. I could have used these at that time. Since then, I haven't had to do a ton of I-cord, but I'm ready now. I am ready with 2 tools. So bring it on if I need the I-cord. Okay, I had a question from last episode from Debbie Stuckey or Stuckey 6599 about micro-striping yarns. So last episode, which would have been episode 23, I talked about different types of yarns, tonals, solids, semi-solids, variegated, speckled. And she was asking about micro-striping. And interestingly enough, that's one that I wanted to share, but I didn't have any examples of. No, I still don't. All of a sudden I thought I had one. I still don't have any examples of it. I don't dye that very often, but I have photos of examples. So I was going to, let me move over and I will put photos of examples over here. So with micro-striping yarn, when you look at a skein twisted up or opened up, you can usually see that there's going to be a big chunk, like a long section that's one color. You may even see that there's 2 or 3 like that are, you know, strong colors that are obviously separate from the rest of the skein. Not blended speckles, tonals overlapping, but it's a chunk of the skein is one color and a chunk of the skein is another color. And when you have that, that will microstripe when you knit socks and very often hats. So I have a pattern called the ice cream swirl hat that use micro-striping yarn to create the swirl. So a few examples of that are my Great Shape Barbie sock set, the main skein. That one micro-stripes. You can see that there is the predominant color is this teal color, and then there are some yellows and pinks and whites, but that one will micro-stripe. Another example of that is Cinnamon Stick. It's pink and red, and the skein I believe is half and half pink, half red. That one micro-stripes. I even knit up a sample of that. It doesn't micro-stripe quite the same way as one that has a little less than half the skein in one color, and then the majority of the skein in another. Another one of mine that microstripes is Shirley Temple, and this one is a gradient where the color transitions from a very pale cream peachy pink into a dark rich pink. I don't know that it's really dark, but it's a richly saturated pink, and that one will microstripe. Another one is my Kindness is Like Sugar sock set, the main skein microstripes. I don't know if you're seeing the theme here of what the skeins look like twisted up, where you can see that there's one color that's kind of continuing in throughout the skein in one section. Another one that I have is called Off We Go. It was a colorway from my Mary Poppins Returns collection. I know that I have a couple more, but I don't knit or I don't dye a lot of those because they're really only best for socks and hats, maybe gloves, because in sweaters and shawls they will pool and in an undesirable way. So that's how you can recognize that if you're going to be buying some yarn. Hopefully that helps. I'm sorry I don't have any on hand to untwist and kind of show you, but hopefully the pictures will help you. So let's get started with some knitting. I have finished several things. So during December, I started an Advent project. I did a swap with several friends, so I had several Advents, but I had close to half of an Advent left from a previous one from my sister Emily, and I wanted to use that before I used another Advent. I have a couple of Advents where I have some leftovers because I don't always use the whole thing in a project. Sometimes I divide them up and make smaller projects. And so I got the Advent together from my sister Emily, what I had left, and I filled it in with a few others from another Advent that were leftovers and a couple of my own skeins. And I cast on a cardigan, which after the first or second skeins, I realized it was not going to work for the Advent in the way that I wanted. So I switched gears. I decided I'm going to do something else that has been on my to make list for a long time, and I did the Friday Shrug by Jackie Rose. So it didn't take all of my yarn, so I still have more left. Here it is. This is the end. This is the beginning. And you can see I have worn it already. It's stretched out. I haven't blocked it. I don't really think I need to. It's just ribbing and it's super squishy and stretchy. But I think I used around 12 to 14 colors. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's hard to tell here where they blend so well. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think I used 12. 12 20-gram minis, and I just went until I ran out. Now, you hold two strands of fingering weight yarn together for the Friday Shrug. I did not use her instructions. I was gonna say map. Her instructions for how many rows to use for each color and when to fade and everything. What I did is I held two strands together. I wound the yarn into a cake and I pulled from the inside and the outside of this skein until I had what I guessed was approximately 3 rows of yarn left. And then I dropped one strand and I picked up a strand of the second one and knit those together until I ran out of the first color. Then I held this color together, both strands, and when I had about 3 rows, what I guessed, left, I dropped one strand and picked up the next color. And that helped blend them from one into the next. And I just went until I used up all of the 20 grams, so I would have no little bits left over. None of this little nuggets like that. I wanted to use it all up. So that works really well. I've worn it a couple times. I really like it. I don't know if I will make more. I really thought it was fun to make. I loved making it. It was really enjoyable. It was mindless. It was engaging still while it was mindless because of the color changing. I really enjoyed that part of it. But yeah, no cardigan with my Advent this time. Oh, I should tell you what I'm wearing. Did I tell you? No, I didn't tell you what I'm wearing. This is a sweater that I knit several years ago. It is from my own yarn. This is the Spring in LA by Woodland Water Knits. No, Wool and Water Knits. Let me stand up and show you. These are fabulous sleeves. These are Colorwork mohair sleeves. And the body is it DK weight or fingering weight held double with mohair? Fingering weight with mohair. So this was my Mermaid Lemonade color, and then just Marshmallow, the bare undyed yarn. I sewed a like undershirt. I have this silky undershirt that I sewed to wear with a lot of things, but you can see it a lot more than I thought you could. So I don't know if I really like that here or if I'd prefer it to be up. I don't know, but I think it's very pretty, but it is not realistic for me to wear very often. So if I'm going to be doing much work, then I will not be wearing this. But it is very warm. This mohair on my sleeves, while it's still flowy, it still has plenty of warmth to it. Now, I think that this sleeve is too long for me. I would prefer it to be 2 inches shorter. But you knit it bottom up and then sew it in. So what I would have to do is unpick these seams, rip it back down to 2 inches lower than the sleeve here, and then start the sleeve cap again and sew it back in. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to doing that. It would be nice because I probably would wear this more. Because what I have happen is it's long, so this folds over. Let's see if I can show what it does. Folds over like this. I would prefer it to stay a little more like that than flopping over. So we'll see if I ever get around to doing that. I don't know, but it's lovely. Okay, my next, oh, you found a squeaky toy. Put them all downstairs and she brought one up. Come here, girl. No, she knows what's gonna happen. Come get me. We're not squeaking. We're having a staring contest to see who wins. Come here, girl. Come here. Okay. Next project. I showed this on my last episode. I finished the Reinrose hat by Kate Running, and I love it. I love it so much. Okay, now I was unsure as to how I was going to proceed last time. Let me show you the pattern. You can see there's two options. The one on this side, I'm trying to keep Luna happy, has the darker color as the brim and the background. And then the one on this side has the lighter color for the brim and the background. Well, what I had done was I had planned to do the darker color for the brim and the background. So I did the brim and I started knitting and realized I had swapped the white to being the background because the chart looks like that, and without realizing that I needed to switch it, I just started knitting how the chart was showing light versus dark, and I just didn't know if I would like how it turned out. Well, one of you suggested, well, you'll have enough yarn, you could knit two, so you could continue on and then you could make another one. So I did, I just continued on, I knit it, and I love it. I love it. Now, I messed up a bit on the decreases on the top. The pattern doesn't look as beautiful as it could because when I printed, well, I can't really show you that, but I printed mine in black and white in grayscale instead of in color, and the chart, I didn't realize, in grayscale could not differentiate in the colors to show clearly the decreases, and I was too lazy to go look on my computer, so I thought, oh, I'll figure it out as I go. I did not figure it out as well as I thought I did, but it still looks beautiful. It's still beautiful, and I don't know if I will add a pom-pom or not. A pom-pom would hide that, but I don't know that anybody's really going to even notice my mistake. It's just a beautiful hat, and I love it so much that I have already pulled out a couple of other colorway options to knit this. Now let's see how much yarn it took. I can't remember exactly how much I had of Nutmeg. This was the skein that I dyed for my daughter's sweater, where all I needed was like an inch more for her sleeves. So I'm guessing I used 5 grams, maybe 10 at most. I've got 45 left. So yeah, it probably took about half, probably took about 50 grams. 50 grams or less to do this option. And then this is a Bare Silver Stellina DK. And I used 35 grams, no, 25 grams of this one. So not a lot, really not a lot. So what I'm gonna do for the next one is I'm gonna use this for the main color, and then I have another yarn that I will use for the colorwork portion. I'm going to attempt to do this version this time. No, you can't squeak. No squeaking. No squeaking. Hey, you just stay there. I'm so mean. So I really, really love that one. And it fits really beautifully. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to mess up hair. We'll see. I can't see the back. I have no idea how I've put it on, but hopefully you can tell. It fits really nice. I had to change the, oh, you got it. You got the toy. I had to change the needles because it was way too tight. I went from a size 3 needle to a size 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter. And I think that turned out perfectly. Now, did I use that for all of it? Yes, it doesn't have you change to a bigger needle for the body. Okay. All right, come here, Luna. Come here, girl. Now for Christmas Eve, I don't know about you, but I do love a Christmas Eve or Christmas Day cast on. Christmas Eve normally is too busy for me to be able to cast something on, so I'll very often do Christmas Day. But I did Christmas Eve this year, and I was struggling to sleep all that week. So the day before Christmas Eve, all night I was just thinking about, what am I going to cast on? I have all these options of what I could cast on. What do I want to do? And I decided to cast on a Colorwork hat. I cast it on and I got it done, I think in 3 days. Isn't that so cute? Oh, I love it. So Pacific Knit Co. has a, do I have it written down? A basic beanie, a basic hat pattern that you can then use for any of her charts. And so I had purchased that basic hat pattern, and I have a lot of her charts. And I'll show you which one I used. I ended up using the Spring Doodle card deck. Is that right? Yep. The Spring Doodle card deck. And it was just fun to go through and pick out which charts I wanted. So this Doodle card deck, I'll tell you more about that a little bit later. But I went into my shop, my stock for my shop, and I pulled out some minis. I got Cinnamon Bears is this solid red. Peppermint Twist is this speckly pink and red. Gray stuff here and in here. Miss Goody Two Shoes is the plain pink right here. Marshmallow is the cream, and Black Licorice, which is the little black. Come Come here, Luna. Why do you have to have the noisy ones? I could have used scraps, but I really wanted a really cohesive look, and I knew I had some good yarns for this. So I wanted to do like a Valentine's hat. My daughter says it looks like an Alice in Wonderland hat because it looks like playing cards from Alice in Wonderland. And my husband said it looks like a strawberry because of this pattern, stitch pattern on the top. I just think it's cute. So my notes on this. I have notes on this. Where did I put the notes? I'm not sure. Oh, I did 44 rows of color work before starting the decreases. So I did fingering weight yarn. The pattern gives you like a needle size suggestion for DK weight, but then it tells you how many stitches to cast on if you have a different gauge. And so I just picked some needles that I thought would work for fingering weight yarn. I think I did 2.75 millimeters for the brim, for the ribbing, and I did 3 millimeters for the body of the hat. And I think that gave me 6 stitches per inch, I think. And I used that gauge and followed the pattern for that. And I do like a fingering weight hat. When it's color work, it's kind of held double. You get more warmth from it because it's all double layer. But it's still a little bit, you know, it's still floppy and loose, and so it's not too hot. But with this folded brim, I did a folded stitched down brim, then that's warmer on your ears. But I think that 44 rounds was too much for my gauge. I don't know how many rows per inch it ended up being, but I think I would do probably 5 to 7 rounds fewer in the future because color work doesn't stretch quite as much as, well, this one is really stretchy. This was a looser gauge as well. Yeah, See, look, let's look at these two hats together. They're the same length, but they're not the same width. And so this one is more narrow and tall, and I don't love how much it sticks up on the top. Now, if it had a pom-pom, it would pull it down. But it's so cute, and this is my favorite part of the whole thing. I love it. I love the red with the pink speckly background. I love this whole chart. I would like to do an entire hat or a sweater in that chart, just repeating it again and again and again. I love that combination. So I think I'm gonna dye some full skeins for me to do something with that. Really love that one. Do I have any more? Yes, I have 2 more. So that's all my finished. No, I have 1 more finished project. My grandson, I've mentioned that he has really, really itchy skin. He has eczema on his scalp quite severely, and I think we discovered the cause of that over the Christmas break, and so my daughter's working on changes for that, which hopefully will help, but it makes him scratch more than normal, because most babies, their nails are all over the place, always scratching things, just trying to figure out how to use their hands. And those little tiny fine nails always just yeah, they're always scratching something, but his is severe, so he's always covered in scabs on his scalp. So she tries to always keep gloves or mittens on his hands, socks on his hands, a hat on his head so he can't scratch. I recently made him some mittens so that he could have some more dexterity. And I knit him a hat, but it was a little too loose and floppy. So as he moved and turned his head in his car seat or while you're holding him, it would end up shifting around and coming down over his face. So I decided to try doing a completely ribbed hat at a tighter gauge. So what I made for him, I'll put a picture up here. It's not of him wearing it, it's of me holding it. It looks so tiny. It's just this long, narrow, skinny thing. But I used DK weight yarn. It only took 34 grams, a 17-inch circumference. I used a US, oh, I don't know what, I used 4mm needles. I cast on 64 stitches and did 1 by 1 ribbing for 5 inches, and then I started decreases, and it ended up 6 1/8 inches long. I think I could have done just a couple more rounds longer before doing the decreases, but it's snug on his head, and I think that it works better, so that's good. So hopefully with that, and then over time will help his eczema to decrease. So I feel like I just keep knitting him little gloves and little hats, and little gloves and little hats for my granddaughter. And oh, I did sweaters for them, my grandchildren, for Christmas, and gave them their sweaters. And so I've done a lot of knitting for them lately, which is fun. It's really fun. Let's see, I have 2 works in progress. Yes, I have 2. This is one that I started before Christmas, but it's going to take me some time. It took me 1 week to get to the point that I'm at here, but I have not had the brain capacity to focus intensely on it because it requires a lot of focus. But my father, he has need for gloves. Everybody needs gloves, but the gloves that he has are really difficult for him to put on. He doesn't have the same kind of dexterity and mobility in his fingers and his wrist that a lot of people have, and so getting his gloves on and off are a challenge. But the frustrating part for him that really bothers him are the finger lengths don't fit him well, and so the thumbs will be like an inch too long and flop around, and it drives him crazy. So he wanted gloves that were really snug, that he could get on and off easily, that had touch screen, like the ability to use your screens with your gloves. And then he wanted something to make it grippy on the palms and the palms of his hand. So I was thinking about that for a while and thought, I don't know if it's even possible with what he needs, because hand knit things don't have the same kind of stretch as machine knit gloves. It's a different kind of stretch, and I was worried that by making them really snug, it wouldn't be stretchy enough for him to get his hands in the way he needed. And then by adding something to the palm, that would reduce 50% of the stretch, one full side of the glove. But I thought, we're going to give it a shot anyways, and we'll see how it goes. So I went over to his house and I sat down. I looked for patterns all over the place, and in the end I decided to use the Evil Genius Glove Recipe by Dawn Yarman. It's free. It's just instructions, like a recipe. It's not instructions that are cast on this many stitches, knit for this on this size needle for this many rounds. You have to figure out your gauge. You have to figure out the needle size, the yarn that you're going to use, all of that. But I thought this would be the most customizable. So I went over to my dad's house and I sat there for most of the day, and I knit all of the fingers on one hand. So you start, instead of bottom up, you start and you knit the fingers down. And this is what I have so far. Oh, okay. I have some more decreases to do on the bottom. It's hard to see with it being so dark. I have more decreases to do on the bottom, and then ribbing for the cuff. And it fits. Well, we're like, oh, it fits like a glove. it fits him so well. The interesting thing is that it fits me really well. Our hands are so different, but it fits me great. So, well, the only difference is now, like I would do ribbing for me now, but I still need at least 1/2 inch for my dad. But if it doesn't work for him, then I could end up using it. But I'm not gonna lie, it's extremely fiddly. Especially when it comes to joining these all together and knitting down. So you join 3 together and knit until you get down to where the pinky joins, because that's lower, and then you join that one in and you knit down to then doing a thumb gusset increase, and then you join on the thumb, and then you do decreases and decrease down until it's the length you need. But in between the fingers, you Kitchener stitch 4 stitches in between every single one of these. That was fiddly. I had so many ends dangling out of here. It was ridiculous. I had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 ends all for right here dangling around that I had to just keep for a while. Oh, and I still have more. Oh, and then I have them from here. So I have even more. But it works. It works. Now I have to replicate that for the other hand. But that's where I'm like, oh, I've got to really, really be able to focus. And with our construction going on, I have not had the ability to do that. So I'm almost done here. I have extensive notes. I mean, really extensive notes here. I've got both hands traced with exact measurements and how I did each finger for how long, and I have more notes on here and on the hand decreases, the thumb gusset, all of that. So I should be able to duplicate that for the other hand with the changes that I need to make with the other hand. I just need to be able to have a day to sit down and just do that for the fingers. The yarn that I'm using is Kinross 4-ply, no surprise, because this is a favorite, in the shade Granite. And I just love how that one feels when it's all blocked. That reminds me of another project I didn't share. I gotta put this down here. Because it's Christmas, a lot of them I've given away. I made my mom a hat for Christmas. She told me one day that she had a request for a gift, and I am always happy to hear that, so I don't have to guess. She wanted a soft pink hat that was basic and plain, no frills, no fuss, and she wanted it, did she want it to fold over, have a brim? I'm trying to remember if she said that or if I just did that. And then my dad said, and she wants a pom-pom. So I don't know if my mom really wanted a pom-pom or just my dad says she wants one. Or what often happens is, you know, your spouse knows you best, so. But I made another Musselburg hat like I've been making, and I used the Kinross 4-ply in the colorway Seashell and put a pom-pom that I had laying around. I've had a stash of them for several years, and it fits great. I've just made the same as I've made all my other hats. But I will say I was worried. It was down to the wire whether or not it was going to get finished. Because it's a fingering weight yarn, and it's essentially knitting 2 hats with fingering weight yarn and with the folded brim. So it was a lot of knitting. And so I am glad I got it done in time, because I still needed to block and dry and then wrap it, and I was able to get it all done, and I'm glad. And I think that it suits her perfectly. I love the yarn, and I think the colorway is one that she really likes. So hopefully that's one that will work for her well. But I went from not having made a single Musselburg hat for all these years that it's been out to I've now made 4 this year. Because I gave one to my husband on Christmas, one to my daughter, one to my mom, and I made one for Owen, my grandson. Yes, that's how many I made. Okay, I have one more project. Okay, 50 minutes. Let's get a move on. So, on one of the days of construction, at the end of the day, I was just so overwhelmed. I didn't have really anywhere besides my bedroom that was like not covered in construction debris and material and supplies and all of that. And so I just needed somewhere to retreat to, and I just couldn't focus on anything. So I just grabbed my bin of scraps that I had been throwing. I've been throwing after I finish a project, my scraps into a bin all year long, and they were a mess. So I sorted through them, all the little bits, and I wound them all into little balls of yarn and put them in this little basket. Oh my goodness. There is something about a basket of little balls of yarn that just is so inspiring. Every time I go through scraps like this and I organize them, I want to suddenly make things with scraps. Like, I get burned out after a while, but yeah, going through these, I had to make something with them that night. So I pulled out a stash. I actually have 2. Here's one that I pulled out. But the one that I started with are these soft colors in here, pinks and blues and creams, peaches, purples. Just pulled those out, stuck them in. This is my yarn bowl. It's just a bowl from Walmart, but it's the perfect size to put a cake in or some little minis. And I cast on 64 stitches, and I knit Emily's Candy Floss Socks ribbing pattern on the top. It's a mock cable. And then I just started knitting away Scrappy Socks. No rhyme or reason, just start and stop as I please, but I'm doing them concurrently so that, like, one of them, like this blue, I had the tiniest amount, the tiniest amount of yarn. So I got out my scale and I weighed it, and I knit until I had used half of it and cut it, and then I went over to the other sock and I used the other half so that I know that it's even, because I am one that, even if it's scrappy, it needs to match. And I want the colors to be more cohesive. I'm not a scrappy person where they can be mismatched and the colors can be really chaotic. That doesn't suit me. So I know that a lot of people, that just brings you joy, and that's great, but that's not me. So I have my scale next to the balls of scraps so I can weigh them out, and just loving it, having so much fun. Getting close to being ready to do the heels. But I'm glad, because I haven't really been in the mood to knit socks all this last year. I've knit socks. I've knit quite a few with my sock knitting machine where I did tubes and then I added in cuffs, heels, and toes. And then I knit, the one sock that was really fun was Emily's Little Bit of Love sock at the beginning of last year. That one was really fun. And then for the Mermaid Mal this last year that I hosted, I did some Colorwork socks then. And that one was fun at first until I had to rip it out. And then it was no longer as fun starting it again. But other than that, I got burned out doing a million cuffs, heels, and toes on sock tubes because I did so many over the last couple of years that I just took a break from it, kind of took a break from doing a lot of sock knitting, and now I'm just really excited about it again. So I love when you can find something that makes you excited. Are you okay, Luna? Do you have an owie? I think you do. Yeah, so I've got all these little balls of yarn. So all of the balls of yarn here are 15 grams or less. And then in my scrap bin, I've got all of the ones that are like 20 grams, you know, 15 to 20, 22 grams in a bag. And then in a box, I've got all of them that are bigger, that are like 25 to 40 grams, like leftovers from projects where I have a good chunk left over. So yeah, just accumulated a good amount of scraps again this year after getting rid of all of them a year ago. But it's kind of nice to refresh. I like that. And they're also great for weaving on my little tiny loom. So the little scraps, this is even more than what I would put in there, but I have some, did I put them? That's what got tangled up. For my tiny scraps that I put in there. Because you can use the tiniest amounts. Yeah, I've got, oh, it really came undone. That's too bad, because now it's going to be a mess. So I've got little bits like this. I'm like, what am I going to do with that? And I remembered my loom. Perfect. Perfect. So now I have lots of things to make with my lots of scraps to make things with. So for Make 9, I want to talk about my Make 9 this year. I have not participated in that at all because I struggle to stay motivated with plans that I had made a long time ago. I always joke that the only thing I can commit to for a year is my husband. So, you know, making a plan for the whole year, no, there's too many things that pop up that I'm like, ooh, I want to make that, or no, now I need to make this, and so I don't have time to do the other things, and they take the place of it. So what I did one year to kind of be motivated to do it is I got project bags out. I put the yarn, I put the needles, I put the pattern. I even did a gauge swatch on some of them. I put notions bags in project bag, and I had everything ready to go for projects. And I lined them all up and I put them out with my project bags for my works in progress so that when I finished a project, I could go and grab one of those bags and it was all ready to go. That sounds like a great idea, except for the fact that what happened was I saw those bags there all the time, and I felt like I had all of these projects that I had started because they're all lined up there and I saw them all the time, and I would peek into them from time to time like, now what was in there? And so I saw it enough that I felt like I had been working on them all year, but none of them were started. And so I never even wanted to do them. I mean, I did a couple of them, but by the end of the year, I just was sick of looking at them, and I was so uninspired that I just put everything away. I realized, okay, that does not work for me. That's not a solution for that for me. But on my phone, I have all these tabs open all the time of all these projects I want to work on. I don't use Ravelry, and so I just have tabs open. And I have a whole bunch of things saved on Pinterest and things saved on Instagram. And what I did is I went through Instagram and Pinterest and I made on my notes on my phone and the tabs that I had open, I kind of pulled out the ones that I had been most interested in and made a list of them in categories of if it was knitting or crochet. So I have a photo of it, I have the name of it, and I have the link to the pattern. And a lot of them I own the patterns, but I just didn't want to forget that I have them. And so what I plan to do is go through the patterns and see if I have yarn in stash for it. If I have yarn in stash for it, that's great. If I don't, it's okay. But what I want to do is I want to take the pattern and the yarn, not all the notions and everything because I'll need them, the needles, and I want to wrap them up in a project, not in a project bag, wrap them up in a box like a gift. So I can't see what's in it, and it's a celebration kind of thing. It's a gift. It's a fun thing to anticipate opening, especially if I can't see in it, I'll forget, because I know I will. I won't forget everything, but I'll forget some of the things. And if I only have the pattern, I'll just wrap up the pattern, and I can dye the yarn, acquire the yarn, whatever. But then when it's time to do one, then I can just pick one. I might put on the bottom like a little note as to if it is a garment or if it's like simple stockinette or things like that. So, oh, I'm in the mood for something that's a garment, or I'm in the mood for something really basic. And so I can pick from there if that's the case. And then that's how I'm going to do my Make 9. I think that's what I'm going to do. Because I do want to do, well, I don't have to, it doesn't have to be 9. It can be whatever number I want it to be. But I want to be focused on doing the projects that I have thought about doing for a long time and not just get sucked into everything new. But what does happen is things come up for my business and things come up that I'm interested in, and I have no problem with doing those. I just don't want that to take over and not have time for anything else. So, because I really want to use some of my precious yarns that I've got sitting around, so that way I can use some of them. And it'll also leave room for me to acquire other ones if I don't have it, and that's fine. But that way I can go to stash first and buy or dye second. So that's my plan. I've already got, I think, 4 of the projects out on my table right now, ready to be packed up. And then I've got to narrow down some of the others. So that's what I'm doing there. Okay, what else did I have? I have so many things out here. It's crazy. Oh, I wanted to show you this. This is fun. So in my knitting group, someone brought, well, they had made a sweater for their granddaughter and were working on some other projects, and they brought the book that they had used to make it from, and it was Strange Brew by Tin Can Knits. And I thought, that is such a great book. I want to get it. So I went online. I could not find it anywhere. So I discovered that it's no longer in print, that it's only an ebook, so you can purchase the ebook. So what I did is I purchased the ebook, and then I sent it to my printer friend who printed it and bound it for me. So I had him put a front cover and a back cover on it. This is such, I don't know why I do this, because this is a way more expensive way to get a book than had I purchased it initially. But I didn't know about it initially because I bought the ebook, and then the printing is a hefty price to do full color printing, because I really wanted the full color. Like, I wanted the book like it was intended to be. So I really like that it's spiral bound though. That makes it really nice. So that was a pricey project, but now I can use this. I really like that it's adaptable, customizable, where they've got basic patterns that you can adapt for any size. And then they've got color work in here that you can throw in, like you could put in one of these charts into your patterns. But the other thing I could do is I could see if the Doodle decks or any of the Doodle chart patterns that I have can be used in some of these. So that's what I was thinking I could do a lot more of, is color work in some of these. But I'm excited because they also have a basic hat in here. Yeah, it's kind of the same kind of idea as Pacific Knit Co., where that you have a base pattern and it can be adapted with other things, but not exactly the same. So I was really excited about this. I need to delve into that a little bit more. Okay, it is time for, yes, shop news. And I've got some fun shop news. Okay, I showed you my hat. And the reason I was so excited to make this is because I have not one, not two, not three, but where is it? You can guess, 4 Doodle Deck packs from Pacific Knit Co. that I am stocking in my shop now. So these are the 4 seasons. There's winter, spring, summer, and fall. And one thing about these is that these are charts that you can buy on her website. You can get some of her summer patterns, some of her winter patterns, or you can get the decks of cards and you don't have to print it out. And they are really nice because you can just use them again and again and again rather than printing and cutting out and taping together and stuff. The other cowls, this is the one I had open. The other charts, let me get this ready. So like what I did is I went through charts and I picked out the ones that I liked and put them around in the order that I wanted them to be and saw how many do I want, how many rows, what order do I like, and then I knit it from these cards, which was really fun. And this is the one I was saying I'd love to just use this chart for an entire project, which is wonderful because there's so many options in here. And then there is how to make an infinity cowl and how to make a standard single-sided cowl, and basic how to doodle with yarns and put your charts in order. So if you want to make a cowl, you've got the instructions right here for how to do that and all the charts. But you can also mix and match all of these. You can also mix and match these and put them onto her basic sock pattern, onto her basic hat pattern. She also has a Christmas stocking pattern. And so you can mix and match these, or if you have other patterns that you're like, you know what, I could throw some color work into, you can use these. So I really like that. The reason also why I'm really excited is you know how much I love mini skeins, and I dye gumball minis, and I like to sell them, you know, individually so you can make your own packs, you know, your own customizable gumball mini skein sets. So if you do that, you can get some mini skeins and you can get charts with them. I will be continuing to sell my 20-gram fingering weight gumball mini skeins, but I'm also going to start stocking 50-gram DK weight skeins because you can do both DK and fingering weight on these patterns, and so that's really great. So I will start working on doing the DK weight 50-gram skeins this month and start stocking those where you can buy just one of them. It's not that they will be all in a set. You can mix and match just like you can with the gumball mini skeins that I do. The other thing that's really exciting is my sister Emily Clawson of Salt City Knits has a new pattern. It comes out on January 6th, and today is January 4th, I believe. I just closed my book. That was not smart. Yeah, in 2 days, she has her backcountry shawl pattern coming out. It is a 3-color, 3-skein shawl, which is really beautiful, inspired by the countryside in Utah. All of her patterns that she has been designing this last year have been based off of Utah landmarks and inspired by things within Utah. And so it has some lacy sections that are really pretty. It is a crescent shaped shawl. It's just beautiful. And she has a discount code for my viewers here for that pattern. It is Candy Shoppe 25 for 25% off her pattern on Ravelry starting January 6th. I'm not putting that in the description box below. I'm just putting that on the screen here. But what she's asked is if I wanted to put together some kits for her shawl, and I loved that, because that's one thing I always love is when customers ask me for help in putting together color combinations for them. I love that. So I got to play around with putting together some combinations. So one has already sold, but I'll show you some of the others. This one is gingerbread, elderberry, and root beer barrels. These are kind of more muted colors. This one's a gradient. This is Wedding Fantasy Barbie, Seaside Sunset, which is from my Mermaid Kingdom collection. And this one is Nutmeg, which is what I knit my hat out of. And that one is a beautiful fade. Then I have some bright ones. I think this one is my favorite. Got just lightly speckled fun colors on this skein, which is Jawbreaker, Magic Moves Barbie, and Barbie and the Rockers. I love this one. Emily's favorite is this one, which really goes with the theme of the country, backcountry. I feel like it kind of has that vibe to it. These were from my Cinnamon Spice and Everything Nice collection. This is Blackberry Cordial Cream, Cinnamon Spice, and Midnight Berry Bliss. It's kind of a purpley blue, a berry plum color, and browns. And then the last one, this one is on a sparkle base. These are all from my Mermaid Kingdom collection. Ocean Odyssey, Siren Song, and Pearl of the Sea. So these are in my shop, and for my viewers here, I have a discount code, and that is 20% off of my kits. If you go to CandyShoppeYarns.com, it is Backcountry20, and that is only for these kits until they are gone. So you can get the kits, and then the pattern will be out, and you'll have your yarn, and you can get started on it. So that's really exciting. And one more thing that's really exciting that I just am starting this month. So this year, I'm going to be doing a mystery monthly mini skein club. So it is called Enchanted Nostalgia. It is all mini skeins that are based on childhood sweets, treats, memories, and experiences, all of the things that just made your childhood fun and magical. So there will be each month 5 mini skeins, 5 20-gram mini skeins. They will be mystery colorways, but I will have a theme for each month. And so this month's theme is fairy tale fantasy. And so I'm going to be basing this month's colorways off of fairy tales, and I will have a postcard that I will include in each club each month that has the inspiration for the month on it. So I'm really excited about this one. I've had some customer ask me if I would consider doing a mini skein club, and I've actually thought about this for a couple of years. I haven't done it and decided I'm going to take the plunge and do it this year. After doing my Christmas Advent, I got a little bit more courageous, because the mystery part of it, I always worry about letting people down, about them being disappointed with something. I did a mystery skein sale a little while ago, and I know that I had a customer that was disappointed because they got all the same colorways, because I was trying to make it more usable for them. I thought, here, that way you can, instead of having 4 random skeins, you have 4 that are all the same, so you could make a larger project. And they were disappointed because they wanted them all to be different, and I just worry about disappointing my customers. I always want everybody to be happy with their purchases, but I got a little bit more courageous after doing an Advent this year and having a really great response and feedback to that, and decided I'm going to go ahead with this. So You can go to my shop. It's a pre-order, and I have a limited number of spots open, and so when those spots are filled, then that's it for the month, and then until the next month. So you can go to candyshopyarns.com, and I have a link down below where you can go and sign up for that club. So thank you so much for joining me today. That was a lot to share. Whew. It was a lot of talking. I feel like I've done a lot of talking lately. My jaw is tired and ready for a rest, and I'm sure your ears are ready for a rest. But I hope you have found some inspiration here today, and I thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.